Hi, my name is Mark David Gerson, and I'm here today to talk to you about writing and creativity, about the creative process. If you want more information about me or my work or my books, you can find it on my website at www.markdavidgerson.com. That's my full name, markdavidgerson.com. What makes a good writer? I think what makes a good writer is someone who is prepared to surrender to the process of creation, is someone who steps out of his or her own way, relinquishes control of the process, and allows the story to speak to him, to speak to her. When I use the word story, I'm really talking about anything that we would write. It doesn't have to be a piece of fiction. It can be an article, it can be a journal entry, it can be a poem, it could be a screenplay, it could be a theater play, it can be a teleplay, it can be anything at all, fiction or nonfiction. And so what makes a good writer is someone who feels a strong connection with their story, allows that story to speak to them, and in effect co-creates that work on the page with the essence of that story, with the essence of the characters if it's fiction. For me, the creative process is a process of ever-deepening surrender. It's about saying, I'm not in charge of the story. My muse, if you will, is in charge of the story. The story itself is in charge of itself. The story chose me to tell it, and my job is to listen to that story, to listen with my heart, not my head, and allow the thoughts, the images, the situations, the characters, all the aspects of that story to flow through me onto the page. How do we do that? How do we surrender? Well, a very practical way of surrendering is by doing what I call writing on the Muse stream. The Muse stream for me is that free-flowing river of creativity, of creative flow that always moves through us when we allow it to, when we surrender to it. And a way to do that is that when we are writing, particularly in those initial drafts, particularly in that first draft, is you sit down and write on your computer with pen and paper, and you don't stop to correct, you don't stop to edit, you don't stop to think. In fact, in the early days of my teaching, I would always write on the blackboard, write, don't think. Of course, we have to think as part of the writing process, or we couldn't form letters on the page, we couldn't craft a sentence. But what I'm really saying is that the creative flow comes from a deep place within us that has no space for censorship, that has no space for judgment, that has no space for hypercritical faculties. So, you write, you said one word on the page, and another, and you don't think about what you're writing. You simply allow the writing to flow. You don't stop to look for the right word. You don't stop to correct spelling or punctuation or grammar. You don't stop for any reason whatsoever. You just keep going, because anytime you stop to correct or to search for the right word, or just stop and start thinking about the process, you are inviting that critical part of our minds in to really gum up the works. It's really important to go with first thoughts, as Natalie Goldberg talks about in her books on writing. First thoughts are true thoughts. First thoughts are the thoughts that are sometimes the scary thoughts, the thoughts that don't seem to make sense, but out of things that don't make sense, art emerges. Out of things that don't make sense within the narrow parameters of what we view as sense, that comes from the infinite realm where the story actually resides. And so it's important to trust that infinite realm, to trust the creative process, to trust the muse stream, and to stay in that flow as best you can from one word to the next. It's all about being in the moment with each word, trusting each word, that each word will lead you to the next word, and that word will lead you to the next word, and that the words that have passed don't matter anymore. It's not about reading back over what you've written. It's about going forward, word by word, breath by breath, moment by moment, allowing each word to lead you to the next without you having to think about it, without you having to worry about it. You know, unless you've got some sort of severe respiratory problem, you don't have to wonder where your next breath is coming from. You breathe in, you breathe out, you don't think about it, it just happens. Well, the words can emerge for you. The words can emerge onto the page for you in just the same way. If you get out of their way, if you don't think about them, if you simply allow them to happen on their own, they will, they do, because they must, because they want to come out, if you will. And so what makes a good writer for me is someone who's prepared to open to that process and to open to the process of self-discovery and creative discovery that comes through that. So surrender to your muse stream, surrender to your creativity, surrender to your creative flow. Allow the stories that long to emerge from and through you, their way, their life on the page. Allow those characters their way, their life on the page. Don't get in their way, don't get in your way. Simply surrender, allow, and let the story emerge. And then you'll have no difficulty ever writing. I'll have more to say about writing and the creative process in future videos. For more information about me and my work, please visit my website, www.markdavidgerson.com. That's www, my full name, Mark David Gerson, all one word, .com. Have a wonderful, have a creative day.